Find out what Prime Minister Perry Christie had to say about leadership in his party. The union steps in on behalf of 140 BTC workers and a meltdown at Bahamar. We've got those stories and a whole lot more. I'm your host, Krishna Virgil, and this is the Tribune's Top 5. With a progressive Liberal Party convention set for October, speculation has grown over who could possibly succeed Prime Minister Perry Christie as the party's leader.
Prime Minister Perry Christie said he's in the process of mulling over who will succeed him as leader of the Progressive Liberal Party. However, he said the ultimate decision on whether he will remain as PLP chief lies with his party. And while he gave no clear indication on his future, Mr. Christie, during an interview that aired on ZNS, said he still has the energy and the ability to continue with new ideas. He added, quote, "We have a deep bench, and the one thing that I am satisfied with is there are any number of persons with the capacity to replace me and continue effectively in the governance of our country." A 31-year-old man was shot and killed in the Wilson Tract area off Wolf Road on Tuesday morning, pushing the country's murder count for the first half of the year to 74. Police responded to reports of gunfire shortly after 11 a.m., and at the scene, officers found the victim with gunshot wounds. Police said the man had been walking in the street when he was shot dead. Area residents have identified the victim as Raz Johnson. Officer in charge of the Central Detective Unit, Chief Superintendent Paul Rule, told reporters that police were looking for a gunman who was seen arguing with the victim before his death. Chief Superintendent Rule said, quote, "Our preliminary information is that this young man was walking through a track road along with another male when it appears as though there was an exchange of words between both of them. The young man that was along with him produced a handgun and began discharging shots in his direction. The assailant then ran west towards Wilson Tract and disappeared out of the view of those persons in the general vicinity," end quote. Meanwhile, Candy Gibson, president and founder of outreach group Families of All Murder Victims, questioned how high the nation's homicide toll had to rise before the government and citizens took issue with it. The total of 74 to the end of June is considerably ahead of the 64 in the same period in 2014.
More than 100 BTC employees are expected to lose their jobs in the coming weeks. However, the union is expected to fight for the workers to keep their jobs.
The Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union filed an injunction preventing BTC from laying off 140 employees, according to Union President Bernard Evans. At a press conference on Tuesday, Mr. Evans said the union will not stand by idly while BTC executives blatantly disregard the rules outlined in the union's industrial contract. He also said the union is not pleased with what the company has offered the remaining employees. Last week, according to union executives, BTC informed them that it would begin its first round of downsizing on June 30th, making 140 persons redundant. The union announced shortly afterwards that strike action was very possible. Mr. Evans said, quote, "Our hope is that the company will not be able to carry out their wishes in terms of outsourcing staff because they did not follow the letter of the terms of our agreement as it relates to redundancies. By law, we are supposed to have dialogue. We were supposed to be provided with a list of areas to be outsourced and personnel that will be impacted. Members are supposed to be notified and given 120 days notice and the time off to look for employment elsewhere," end quote. He said BTC was in direct contravention of the union's industrial agreement. Mr. Evans said while the severance packages being offered to exiting employees were reasonable, he said what is being offered to employees that remain at BTC is unacceptable. Bahamar CEO Sarkis Ismailian announced through a press statement on Monday that the $3.5 billion Cable Beach mega resort filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in a Delaware court in the United States in order to complete construction and successfully open. The shock announcement came less than 2 weeks after Prime Minister Perry Christie said he received encouraging news about a possible impending resolution to the Bahamar deadlock. In a statement sent to the media on Monday, Mr. Ismailian said Bahamar will continue for a period to operate and fund payroll. However, if a consensual resolution cannot be made in the next few weeks, Bahamar will have to make some extremely difficult decisions that would include workforce reductions. The statement stressed that Chapter 11 is not a liquidation process, and the resort has asked the court for approval to continue paying the salaries and benefits of its employees. The Melly in Nassau Beach will continue to operate, but the convention center and golf course will not be open during this process. The following day, the Prime Minister said the government was blindsided by the bankruptcy filing. He insisted that it was completely false to say that his administration had misled the public on the $3.5 billion project status. Mr. Christie said that the decision by Bahamar's CEO came at a point when his personal intervention with all parties involved led to a substantial agreement on a package solution for additional funding by the China Export-Import Bank. Former Deputy Prime Minister Brent Simonet has blasted Bahamar executives, saying they have shown this country great contempt and disrespect.
The government of the Bahamas has agreed to pay the salaries of more than 2,000 Bahamar workers for the next month amidst the mega resort's Chapter 11 bankruptcy filing.
The Christie administration will foot the estimated $7.5 million bill to pay the salaries of Bahamar workers this month in a bid to block them from being used as pawns in the resort's Chapter 11 bankruptcy claim, according to Attorney General Alison Maynard Gibson on Thursday. Mrs. Maynard Gibson said the decision to circumvent the Bahamian court system and file for Chapter 11 in a U.S. court without notice to major stakeholders opened the door for serious and far-reaching implications to the country's sovereignty. However, the Attorney General would not detail those implications or say whether the government was prepared to continue paying salaries if a resolution could not be met before the next pay period. She also could not speak to the fate of Bahamar's Bahamian creditors, who are collectively owed an estimated $123 million. She said the Hotel Corporation of the Bahamas stands ready to pay the full salaries of Bahamar's employees. However, it is unclear if the government will also pay the salaries for the resort's foreign workers. Mrs. Maynard Gibson said her office received the U.S. court documents on Wednesday, adding that the China Export-Import Bank, the project's largest creditor, had not yet been served with the documents.
Want to get in on the discussion? Well, here's how you can. Just log on to our website at www.tribune242.com. Like us on Facebook, the Tribune News Network. Send us a tweet at Tribune242 or subscribe to our YouTube page, Tribune242.